The company was planning layoffs, and on my wife, Ashley's layoff ballot was my name. I asked her why, and she explained, I'm doing this for the company's benefit. You're simply not suited for this job. But then, she arranged for her first love, Kevin, to take my place. I confronted her, only to be met with her cold accusation. You're being so petty. Kevin is a single dad raising a child. How are they supposed to live without this job? However, after our divorce, I thrived at a rival company, and she regretted her actions. As I was getting ready to leave work, my colleague John suddenly approached me with a mysterious air. He was known as the office gossip. There was nothing about the company that he didn't know. Ethan, do you know about the recent poor performance and the company's plans for layoffs? I shook my head. He gave me a sympathetic look, leaned in, and whispered, Ashley's layoff ballot has your name on it. No one whose name appears on Ashley's layoff list has ever kept their job. What? I was shocked, not just because I might be fired, but because the Ashley he was talking about was my wife, Ashley Henderson. She had no reason to do this. John must be mistaken. I silently breathed a sigh of relief. John, I didn't think even the office grapevine could be wrong sometimes. I've been doing a good job. My performance last month was also excellent. Why would Ashley fire me? I still didn't reveal my relationship with Ashley. Bullshit. John was so angry that his mustache bristled. I'm trying to give you a heads up so you can find another job, and you don't even believe me. Anyway, I've said my piece. You'll be leaving in the next few days. He was so furious that he forgot his lunchbox, clocked out, and left. I hesitated several times, but in the end, I packed my things and went to our usual spot to wait for Ashley to get off work so we could go home together. Our usual spot was actually the entrance to a secluded coffee shop near the company. Ashley didn't like people in the company knowing about our relationship, and neither did I. I was afraid of people gossiping behind my back, saying I was a kept man living off my wife. As for Ashley, I took it for granted that she felt the same way. Lost in thought, I saw Ashley pull up in her car. She seemed particularly agitated today, honking the horn several times. She rolled down the window, revealing half of her beautiful face, but her words were still unpleasant. Getting quickly. There's so many people coming and going. What if someone sees us? I lowered my eyes and got into the passenger seat. Halfway through the drive, I suddenly remembered what John had told me earlier. On a whim, I casually asked Ashley, I heard the company's performance isn't good and they're planning layoffs? She frowned, her voice impatient. Why are you suddenly asking about this? I just heard you filled out some layoff ballot. She slammed on the brakes and pulled over, turning to look at me. That's a matter for the company's senior management. It has nothing to do with you. My words tumbled out. How does it have nothing to do with me? Isn't my name on your layoff ballot? She froze, then her eyes widened in disbelief. Did you go through my things in my office? Ashley, you really wanted to lay me off? She sneered. Company layoffs are all about efficiency. I'm doing this for the good of the company. Besides, you're simply not suited for this job. I had worked diligently at the company for 5 years, and my performance had always been at the top of the team. If I hadn't given up the promotion opportunity to Ashley, she wouldn't be sitting in the director's chair now. And now she was telling me I wasn't suited for the job. Ashley's tone softened slightly, and she began to reason with me gently. Besides, don't we still have me earning money at home? The little bit you earn makes no difference. Right. Since you already know, go and handle your resignation tomorrow. It saves HR the trouble of notifying you. I won't resign. Ashley's face changed, and she started mercilessly criticizing my shortcomings. Laying you off is the company's decision. I'm asking you to resign for your own dignity. Take this opportunity to rest at home. Isn't that great? Besides, I don't even need you to work hard outside. What more do you want? Do you want me to give you the director's position to be satisfied? I looked into her eyes and said word by word, this position should have been mine. Get out of the car. We began to give each other the silent treatment. But to my surprise, that night, Ashley unexpectedly came home with groceries. Usually, whenever we had a fight, she would disappear like smoke. No answer to phone calls, blocked on WeChat. At the company, she would avoid me, not even giving me a chance to explain. Only when she was in a good mood would she remove me from her blacklist. Of course, every time, I was the one who apologized first. My apologies, along with gifts, became the lubricant in our marriage. But today, Ashley actually took the initiative to come home and apologize to me. I was in a bad mood this afternoon. I acted impulsively and said some harsh things. I apologize. When I heard her say this, I slapped myself hard. It hurt. I wasn't dreaming. She frowned, hurried to the fridge to get an ice pack for me, and said, "Still a fool." We had been married for 5 years and known each other for 10. I truly loved her. You know, the company layoffs aren't something I can decide alone. I'm sorry about that, but I didn't write your name on the layoff list at all. I was angry because you were speculating about me. You're my husband. How could I possibly want you to lose your job? But you know the situation. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself down. I know. You have your difficulties. Forget it. I'd already found another way out anyway. Before I could finish, Ashley interrupted me. It's okay. I bought your favorite taro crispy duck. I waited in line for half an hour just to get it. I cupped her face and kissed her. Thank you, honey. Her brow furrowed slightly, and a hint of disgust flashed across her face. But in a blink, she put on a sweet smile again. Maybe I had imagined it. The next morning, I received the layoff notice from HR. Because I was prepared, I wasn't too flustered. Instead, I calmly negotiated the best possible severance package from the company. I was temporarily unemployed, and I still had to think about our little family. Ashley had been working especially hard these past few days, often not coming home until 8 p.m. I asked her a few times, and she explained that the company had a lot of resignations recently, and there was a lot of backlog. I didn't think much of it. But that night, I received a WeChat message from John. "You're really unlucky this time. No wonder Ashley wanted to fire you. Turns out it was to arrange a good job for her husband." I didn't understand what he meant by arranging a job for her husband, so I sent a question mark. But the text he replied with soon stunned me. "By the way, you didn't know, the day after you left, the department hired a new guy to replace you. I've seen him and Ashley getting quite close these past few days. They even hold hands and go to dinner together after work. He has a 6-year-old son, probably Ashley's son. No wonder she had been coming home late every night these past few days. No wonder she always had a faint milky scent of a child on her these past few years. So that's how it was. My wife had arranged for her lover to take my place as soon as I left. The worst part was I might have been forced to wear a green hat for 5 years. My hands were trembling with anger, but I still held back my rage and asked John the new guy's name. Kevin Miller? My eyes widened in disbelief as I stared at the familiar name on the phone screen, my heart sinking. I had accidentally seen this name in Ashley's graduation photo album. Stored with the photos was Ashley's diary from her school days, filled with her secret crush. The male protagonist of the diary was Kevin Miller. At that time, she had graduated 4 years ago, and we had been married for 2 years. We had moved more than a dozen times, but this yellow diary had been preserved intact. Honestly, if he really appeared in front of Ashley, I couldn't guarantee whether they would rekindle their old flame. That night, when she came home from work, we had a huge fight about the diary and the photo. What's wrong with having a few old photos? What's wrong with keeping an old diary? These are my youthful memories. Who hasn't had a few crushes in their youth? Don't you? Besides, he's already married with kids. Even if I were the cheapest woman on earth, I wouldn't be a mistress to a married man. I believed her at the time. Ashley was beautiful and had a good job. There was no need for her to stoop so low. But now I knew that these were all lies to deceive me. She even fired me just to get her first love job. Of course, if I were at the company watching her every day, she wouldn't have the chance to make any moves behind my back. The clock pointed to 6 p.m., and Ashley still hadn't come back. I looked at the WeChat message John had sent me saying that the whole department wouldn't be working overtime this week, and I felt a surge of anger. This morning, Ashley had clearly told me that the whole company was working overtime. Besides, she had barely come home early this week. I felt green with envy. The usually soft and comfortable sofa felt like needles today. Finally, I couldn't help but call Ashley. She answered quickly, her voice no different than usual. "Honey, I'm busy at the company. Why are you calling me now?" I sneered and asked directly. "I heard you arranged for Kevin Miller to take my position? After all these years, you still can't forget him, can you? You're something else." There was silence on the other end for a while. Then came the familiar accusations. "If you called just to throw mud at me, then I have nothing to say to you." I gritted my teeth. "At least you should give me an explanation." The phone seemed to have been passed to someone else, and Kevin's voice came from the receiver. "I'm sorry, Ethan. I didn't know you were originally doing this job. I should have given the job back to you, but my son and I really can't live without this salary. Please, I beg you, have mercy on me. Don't fight with Ashley anymore, okay? If it really doesn't work, I'll resign. I definitely won't bother you too. I frowned, and before I could speak, I heard Ashley's furious voice. Why are you apologizing to him? He's incompetent and got fired. Why should you apologize for getting a job on your own merit? She snatched the phone and scolded me. Ethan, can you stop being so petty? How is Kevin supposed to live without this job and raise his son alone? Besides, you were laid off because of your own incompetence. Why are you blaming others? I was silent for 3 seconds, then suddenly asked an unrelated question. Ashley, didn't you say you were working overtime? Why is Kevin with you? Are you crazy? You're suddenly being so suspicious. We work in the same company. Isn't it normal for us to work overtime together? You're a jobless man who lives off me. How dare you question me? Normal my ass. When I was at the company, although our department and Ashley's office were close, we never worked overtime together. What's more, when I was at the company, Ashley, in order to avoid people discovering our relationship, wouldn't even talk to me except for work matters. But now, she not only arranged for Kevin to join the company, but she also used the lame excuse of working overtime to lie to me. When we were getting ready to get married, because our finances weren't good, we didn't have a wedding ceremony. We just got our marriage license and had dinner with our families. I was touched that she was willing to marry me when I was at my poorest. So for so many years, I always felt guilty for not giving her a grand wedding. Over the years, I had mentioned countless times that we should have a wedding and invite our friends and family to witness it. But she always refused. We're an old married couple. What's the point of these useless ceremonies? We might as well save the money for ourselves. I was only touched at the time. For the sake of our family, she had truly sacrificed a lot and given up a lot of what she deserved. Because of this, I always felt indebted to her and treated her even better in other aspects. Anything she wanted, as long as she mentioned it, it would appear at home the next day. Anywhere she wanted to go, even if I had to stay up all night to finish work, I would accompany her. But now that I think about it, it wasn't that she didn't want a wedding. She simply didn't want to make our relationship public. At this moment, I suddenly realized that perhaps Ashley had never truly acknowledged me as her husband in her heart. Her love, or lack thereof, was too obvious. But I remember things weren't like this in the beginning. There was silence on the other end of the phone for a few seconds. Then a childish voice came through. The crisp voice made my heart sink. Daddy, why don't you wear clothes to sleep? You adults are so weird. Mommy doesn't wear them either. At this moment, I finally gave up. After 3 seconds of stunned silence, I realized it was Kevin's 6-year-old son speaking. He called Ashley Mommy. I couldn't control my emotions and roared. Ashley, what the hell are you doing? Talk to me. The call was hung up. No one answered my angry questions. I slumped on the sofa, recalling the bits and pieces of these past years. In the second year of our marriage, I had mentioned wanting a child. At that time, we had established ourselves in the company, and our salaries were decent. It was enough to raise a child. But as soon as I finished speaking, she got angry. I'm at a critical point in my career. What's the point of having a child now? We can have a child anytime, but a promotion opportunity might not come again. Besides, haven't you seen all those videos online about childbirth harming women's bodies? She had a point. I never mentioned it to her again after that. But I never imagined that. She had already had a child with her first love before marrying me. The moment I figured it out, all that was left in my heart besides anger was exhaustion. At 10:30 p.m., Ashley finally came home in the light rain. It's raining. Why didn't you come out to pick me up? She stood at the entrance, wiping the raindrops from her body, complaining about me. I didn't answer. She plopped down next to me. Honey, still angry about what happened on the phone today? Angry? That was an understatement. I was so angry that I wanted to grab a knife and go after that cheating couple. Don't be angry. I know you misunderstood my relationship with Kevin. I saw how pitiful they were, so I introduced him to HR. I didn't expect him to pass the interview. A sarcastic smile played on my lips. It just happened to be when I was laid off. It just happened that she saw Kevin was unemployed, and it just happened that Kevin took my position after joining the company. Too many coincidences together are no longer coincidences. His son has been in poor health since he was a child, and he's never seen his mother. I bought him toys a few times, and he started calling me Mommy. It's not easy for a single dad to raise a child. After all, he's an old classmate. I just wanted to help as much as I could. Seeing my disbelief, she pulled out a paternity test from her bag. I knew you wouldn't believe me, so I went and got a paternity test. I glanced at it casually. The child was indeed not Ashley's biological son. But Ashley herself might not have noticed that her face was full of tenderness when she talked about the sick child. Because she loved Kevin, she also loved Kevin's son, even though he wasn't her own. I only felt a sense of irony. If I hadn't been prepared, I couldn't imagine how painful it would be. I sneered and retorted. So just because you felt sorry for him being unemployed, you gave him my job? Just because you felt sorry for the child, you used my money to pay for his medical treatment? Using my money to do favors for the man you love, when it comes to selfishness and cruelty, no one can compare to you, Ashley Henderson. It was only when the thought of divorce popped into my head that I remembered to check my bank account balance. I was shocked by what I saw. In the past 3 months, Ashley had withdrawn almost $1,000 from my account every month. I could guess with my toes who she had transferred this money to. Ashley's face changed, and she started to explain. Kevin's son's medical bills are expensive. You know he doesn't have that kind of money. I couldn't just watch that poor child die, could I? I don't care how you want to please Kevin or his son, but how could you give him my job? How could you take money from my account to do favors? The anger that had been suppressed in my heart erupted like a volcano. I couldn't control myself and raised my hand to slap her. I was stunned after I did it. 4 or 5 years of marriage, I had always pampered Ashley, afraid of her suffering even the slightest grievance, let alone slapping her. But even though I had prepared myself before she came back, when I actually heard her say those things to my face, I still felt like I couldn't breathe. You dare hit me? She covered her red and swollen cheek, staring at me with bloodshot eyes. We're getting a divorce tomorrow. I want to see how you're going to survive without a job and after a divorce. My hand hanging by my side trembled slightly. It wasn't until she rushed into the bedroom and locked the door that I came back to my senses. My phone vibrated. I saw a short video Kevin had sent me. It was a video of him and Ashley being intimate. Right? We had talked and argued after I came back. But Ashley still hadn't explained why a 6-year-old child would say those things on the phone. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, how could a 6-year-old say something about not wearing clothes to sleep? I stared at the video on the phone screen. About 10 minutes later, Kevin sent another message. Oops, I wanted to keep this for myself. Sorry my hand slipped. Don't fight with Ashley anymore. After all, you've lost your job now. If you lose your wife and house, you'll really be a homeless dog. I clenched my fists. My initial intention to apologize to Ashley vanished completely. Why should I grovel and apologize to her when she was the one who did wrong? Why could she unscrupulously use my money to support her first love? When we first got married, I truly felt like the happiest man in the world. My wife was beautiful, generous, and considerate. My in-laws also treated me like their own son. But now I knew that all this time, this peaceful facade was just me deceiving myself. Thinking of this, I took out my phone and sent Ashley a message. We're going to register for divorce tomorrow. She didn't reply that night, but she got up early the next morning to put on makeup and dress up. In 5 years, the number of times she had put on makeup to go out alone with me could be counted on one hand. Today, she was dressed to the nines to get a divorce. It was ironic. Because of the divorce cooling-off period, we only registered for divorce. The divorce certificate wouldn't be issued until a month later. Since we haven't gotten the divorce certificate yet, I can allow you to continue living in my house. Consider it a small compensation. I almost forgot. When we bought the house, because of the guilt I felt for not giving her a wedding, I only wrote her name on the property deed to make her feel more secure. But she seemed to have forgotten one thing. I'm the one paying the mortgage. Even though only your name is on the property deed, this is still our marital property. I didn't want to continue living under the same roof with her, but that didn't mean I would give up what rightfully belonged to me. I didn't have many belongings at home. That morning, I packed my suitcase and checked into a hotel. While I was packing, Ashley sat on the sofa with a sarcastic look on her face. You can't find a job, you have no savings, and now you don't even have a place to live because you want to save face. Ethan, don't you look like a stray dog now? Ashley was wrong about one thing. I wasn't unable to find a job, and I wasn't without savings. As early as when I was laid off, HR from a rival company had called me with a job offer. They had contacted me privately before and offered me a handsome salary to try to poach me. But at that time, I refused them because I wanted to be in the same company as Ashley, making it convenient for us to commute together. Now, I didn't seem to have a reason to refuse. I had originally wanted to share this good news with Ashley last night, but now it didn't seem necessary. After checking into the hotel, I immediately contacted the HR from that company. We had already agreed on the salary and benefits over the phone. All that was left was the contract. Because I was living alone, I rented a studio apartment near the company for convenience. During the initial period after joining the company, I was so busy with work that I didn't have the time or energy to think about anything else. On the other hand, Ashley called me several times within a month. It wasn't because she missed me, and it wasn't because she regretted wanting a divorce. It was simply because during this time, I had relied on the customer network I had built up at my previous company and snatched quite a few of their deals. I didn't intend to answer her calls, so I simply blocked her number. One afternoon when I wasn't working overtime, my colleagues clamored to go out for dinner to celebrate and relax. Of course, I had no objections, but I didn't expect to run into Ashley and Kevin having dinner. My colleague nudged me and asked curiously, "You know Ashley Henderson, the director of Shengshi Ventures?" I glanced at the boy Ashley was holding hands with. "She's my ex-wife." "Mommy, I'm hungry. I want to eat." Because we had stopped for too long, the child started to whine, and Ashley frantically wiped his tears. "Wait a little longer, okay? Mommy has something to do right now." The little boy was usually spoiled rotten and wouldn't listen to her. He threw himself on the ground, rolling around and demanding food, attracting the attention of many customers. I didn't have the mood to watch this farce and turned to go to the private room my colleagues had booked. My colleague scratched his head next to me, looking puzzled but too embarrassed to ask. I knew what he wanted to ask and didn't intend to hide it from him. She cheated. That child is her lover's son with his ex-wife. I didn't want to waste any more time with her, so I filed for divorce. My colleague cursed. "That woman is crazy. She's willing to raise someone else's son for free. It's good that you two are divorced. It saves you from being dragged down by her if she causes trouble in the future." At the time, I didn't expect his words to be prophetic. Ashley always presented herself as a sophisticated and elegant urban professional in front of others. When had she ever been treated like a monkey? This made her unable to maintain her good temper with the child any longer. She let go of his hand and let him roll around on the ground. It wasn't until Kevin came out of the restroom that he picked the child up from the ground. "What are you doing?" Kevin Jr. is still young and not in good health. Is it appropriate to let him roll around on the ground like this? Ashley didn't look up because she was reading the text message I had just sent her. If I hadn't bumped into her today, I would have almost forgotten that we had registered for divorce a month ago. Based on the timing, we could go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get our divorce certificate tomorrow. I guess that's what she wanted to tell me just now. Kevin was still complaining, but Ashley impatiently interrupted him. "I'm not his biological mother. I'm already benevolent enough to raise him and pay for his medical treatment. What else do you want me to do for him? Don't forget, he's not my son. If it were Ethan, he would never have raised the child to be like this, making me lose face in front of everyone." Kevin's face turned purple with anger, but he didn't dare to talk back because he was currently relying on Ashley. My colleague told me all this when he came back after ordering drinks. I took the morning off and made an appointment with Ashley to get our divorce certificate at 9 a.m. She leaned against the car door, a cigarette dangling from her lips, the smell of the menthol capsule filling the air. She had picked up the habit of smoking in college. Because smoking was bad for her health, I always tried to persuade her not to smoke when we were together. She hadn't smoked in the past few years of our marriage. I thought she had quit, but I didn't expect her to start again. It seemed like she was under a lot of stress lately. I frowned and subconsciously reached out to snatch the cigarette from her mouth. It was only after a moment that I realized we were about to get divorced, and there was no need for me to say those annoying things. Nor did I have the right to tell her what to do. She exhaled a puff of smoke, her voice indifferent. "Ethan, you can still regret it now." I pulled a long face, but before I could speak, Kevin hurriedly got out of the car and interrupted. "Ashley, Kevin Jr., is still waiting for you to go to the hospital for a checkup." Ashley didn't say anything more and silently entered the Civil Affairs Bureau. No matter when, Kevin and his son always came before me. When I went to the hospital for an 4-drip because of a high fever of 103. 1 degree Fahrenheit. Ashley was accompanying the child for a checkup at the same hospital. We were only 1 floor apart, but she never thought of coming to see me. When I had appendicitis and needed emergency surgery and a family member to sign the consent form, she said I was being manipulative just to force her to come home. I figured all this out based on the timestamps of Kevin's WeChat Moments posts. Every time Ashley abandoned me because of them, he would post on WeChat Moments. In his heart, this was his glorious victory. To me, it was a humiliation. Fortunately, I no longer needed to yearn for her flimsy love and would no longer worry if she came home 2 hours late. Ashley and I were over. Our marital assets were divided equally. Ashley took ownership of the house, and naturally, the car was awarded to me. Kevin looked at the car keys in my hand, his teeth almost grinding together. I triumphantly held up the keys and dangled them in front of him, then immediately put them up for sale online. The thought of them possibly doing something in the car made me sick to my stomach. Out of sight, out of mind. Life after the divorce was particularly comfortable, so I had more energy to devote to work. In just 3 months, my salary doubled. Because of my excellent project performance, my boss valued me highly and even hinted that if I continued to work hard, there would be plenty of opportunities for promotion in the future. A colleague in the department suddenly fell seriously ill, and the company sent me as a representative to visit him in the hospital. I didn't expect Ashley to be there, too. She had specially mailed me an invitation when she got engaged to Kevin a while ago, but I didn't go. Now it seemed that in the 2 months since she got engaged to Kevin, she hadn't been doing well. Her face was pale, and she had lost a lot of weight. The clothes that used to fit her perfectly now hung loosely on her frame. As if afraid that I would see her in this sorry state, she kept her hair down, covering her face. But Kevin didn't care about that. He grabbed Ashley's hair and pulled, making her scream in pain. "Kevin, are you crazy?" I didn't want to get involved with them, but they were blocking my way. "Excuse me, I need to get through." Kevin snorted, as if suddenly understanding. "I was wondering why you were hiding your face with your hair. It turns out you saw your ex-husband. So, what if he sees? Let him see what a vicious woman you are. Kevin Jr. is so sick he's almost dying, and you still refuse to pay for his treatment. Someone like you doesn't deserve to be a mother." Ashley trembled with anger and slapped him. "That little bastard isn't my son. He has nothing to do with me. He can't be cured anyway. It'd be better if he died." The two of them started fighting. After all, Kevin was a strong young man. I didn't want to watch their dogfight. Ashley was quickly beaten into submission. I glanced from afar and called the police. This was a hospital, after all, and there were so many patients who needed to rest. I didn't know how the police mediated their conflict after they arrived. But soon, even more surprising news reached my ears. John, whom I hadn't contacted for a long time, suddenly messaged me. "Ashley is really unlucky this time. That Kevin guy reported her for abusing her power and colluding with HR to arbitrarily fire employees. She opened the back door for him, but who would have thought he would turn around and betray her?" It's hilarious. John probably hadn't had it easy these past 2 months either. He had complained to me several times about Ashley's ridiculous actions. The company seems to be firing her. If you were still here, the director's position would definitely be yours. I comforted John a few words and didn't take it to heart. But I didn't expect that even though I didn't want to get involved in trouble, trouble would still find me. The day Ashley came to find me, it happened to be the first rain of autumn. The weather had turned cooler. I casually put on a sweater and opened the door. Ashley was wearing a thin autumn jacket, her whole body soaked through, water dripping from the ends of her hair. She no longer had the radiance and confidence of the past, only a sense of defeat and helplessness. "Is there anything I can do for you?" She looked up, wrapping her arms tighter around herself, trying to find some warmth. "Kevin sold my house. Ethan, I have nowhere else to go but here." I didn't say anything. Ashley had received a considerable amount of money from the divorce settlement. No matter how down she was, she shouldn't be unable to afford even a hotel room. Coming to me now and playing the victim was just to gain my sympathy. "Oh, if you have nothing else to say, I'm closing the door. My time is quite valuable." She quickly stuck her foot in the doorway. "Wait, Ethan, I apologize. I was wrong about what happened before. I shouldn't have used your money to pay for that little bastard's medical treatment, and I shouldn't have messed around with Kevin while I was with you. But I wasn't reconciled. I loved him for so many years. How could he just turn around and abandon me? The first time I saw him, I thought I must make him taste the pain I suffered back then." She gave a bitter laugh. "I didn't expect." She didn't expect to be outplayed, and she didn't expect that the person who had controlled her years ago would still have her wrapped around his finger. Actually, when I was with you, I felt really at ease. You always tolerated my temper and were unconditionally good to me. I was blinded by obsession this time. Ethan, I really regret it. I've only realized these past few days that I only felt a sense of revenge towards Kevin. My true love is for you. Please give me one last chance. Just consider our many years of marriage. Let's start over, okay? Ashley was always arrogant in front of me. I had never seen her so humble. Perhaps she had truly loved me once, but that didn't stop her from hating Kevin and hurting me deeply because of her desire for revenge. I wouldn't forgive her. Seeing that I didn't move, she took 2 steps forward and reached out to push the door open. That's when I noticed the dense red rash on her arms and neck. Ashley, what did you get on you? I knew better than anyone that Ashley had no allergies. Ashley had contracted syphilis. Kevin never really intended to spend his life with Ashley. They started arguing frequently shortly after getting married. That night, after they had a fight, Kevin went out to drink alone and picked up a woman outside a bar. Who would have thought his luck would be so bad that not only did he contract an STD, but he also dragged Ashley down with him? When a person is down on their luck, even drinking water can get stuck in their teeth. A series of misfortunes was enough to crush Ashley. Several friends called me to ask what was going on. I hadn't publicly announced my divorce from Ashley on social media. I explained everything to them, and they all felt it was a pity. The last time I saw Ashley was in the hospital corridor. My colleague who was ill was being discharged, and I was helping him pack his things. Ashley was curled up on a bench in the hospital, and everyone around her tried to stay at least 10 feet away. Some even frantically disinfected the area with alcohol. The oversized hospital gown hung loosely on her like a sack. She looked even thinner than the last time I saw her. The skin on her exposed wrists had started to ulcerate, looking quite frightening. What's the hospital doing, letting her sit here like this? Who knows if her disease is contagious? Such a young woman. Who knows what she's been doing outside to contract such a disease? Shameless. An older woman, supporting her father who had a broken leg with a crutch, spat at Ashley viciously. As if sensing something, she suddenly looked up and smiled at me. Seeing me like this, do you feel particularly happy? Let me tell you, you won't escape either. Thanks to her, as soon as I heard she had been diagnosed, I rushed to the hospital for a checkup. Fortunately, I was fine. If thinking that makes you feel a little better, I don't mind. I turned and left without any hesitation. As I walked to the hospital entrance, I saw Kevin. He was grabbing his son by the collar and slapping him hard. Cry, cry, cry. All you know is to cry. You want to eat? Then buy it with your own money. Why are you asking me? You're just like your deadbeat mother. His situation wasn't much better either. The torment of the illness and the strange looks from friends and passers-by had made him particularly irritable. It was just a pity for the child. But I wouldn't be kind enough to get myself into trouble for a child who had nothing to do with me. Ethan, do you know that guy? I saw you staring at him for a while. My colleague craned his neck, following my gaze to Kevin. I shook my head. I've met him a few times, but we're not close. Oh, I see. I guess someone like him wouldn't have anything to do with you. Congratulations, by the way, on your upcoming promotion. The company had opened a new branch in my hometown, and the management wanted me to go there as the director. I thought about it for a few days and accepted. It was a rare opportunity, and I had no reason to refuse. In the past, I had always catered to Ashley, putting her first, and never really thought about my own future. Now that everything had settled, I thought I should have a new life of my own. As the plane soared through the clouds, I watched the buildings on the ground gradually disappear, the lights of countless homes eventually merging into a brilliant starry sky. I thought it was time for me to find my own light.